Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, we're still in our first hour, and this is a great conversation to close off our first hour with you. Talking about cupcakes and cleavage. Yes, probably not something you expected to hear before 7 a.m. in the morning, to say the least, but it's a celebration of the collective feminine power happening on the 1st of July. Joining us this morning in studio is Nicole Joseph Chin, a woman's health advocate and founder of Miss Profits. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am great, and it's good to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us on the show this morning. Now, you know we need to get straight into the conversation. Cupcakes and cleavage. Please share with us, how did you come up with this?
So I was looking at the way we empower women.
Right.
And as a bra fitter, the most familiar looking thing that we could talk about when we're speaking about breasts that is exciting and somewhat delicious.
Yes.
Are cupcakes. So, from a very serious point of view though, you know, when we are talking about our breast examinations, when we're talking about our well-being, and just the fact that some women really have not embraced, and girls have not embraced their journey of breast development, we thought, why not align it to something that is going to feel good, a feel-good action, a feel-good item. And then we also, through the naming of Cupcakes and Cleavage as an event, look at what is that ingredient that you have in your home that you can quickly create something amazing out of.
Okay.
And how can you then have empowering conversations around it? You put it on the table and you have empowering conversations, and something is going to change, because you're going to change perspectives and perceptions around something, but let's do it fun. Let's make it feel good.
I love it. So the purpose of this event, I mean, we're looking at fun, but we're looking at a lot more than that, right?
Absolutely. So this is actually year 15 of Cupcakes and Cleavage.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. We've had it in many versions, including during the lockdown. You know, we had to change the format, and we had it virtually. And we also had the ability and the opportunity to have so many international speakers and partners and friends join us for the event. So Cupcakes and Cleavage actually is really about building important conversations in a very fun space, but addressing some of the things that we miss when we're talking about women's health.
That's interesting.
And particularly whenever we talk about breast health, we always go to the very scary things like breast cancer.
Yeah.
We also talk about breastfeeding, and then we kind of have a lot of gaps in the middle.
Yeah.
So we leave out some of the very critical conversations around what is going to actually constitute a sustainable city, a sustainable workforce. And inside of those places, there are women. And inside of those places, most times when we address that physical image of someone, we always identify that person's gender by way of what that visual looks like with their breasts and their bodies. So in building out important conversations, what we've decided to do is address those gaps, but in addressing those gaps, make it fun, and then have speakers that will address and attend to some of the issues that we're not talking about as women, or we're talking about, but in silos. We're not talking about menopause loud enough. We're not talking about gender-based violence loud enough. We're not talking about self-esteem and body agency loud enough. And we're not addressing these issues except when there's a crisis. And we're only waiting until there's a particular day of the year when breasts are 365, 366, and 24/7.
Right.
Girls are being bullied because of their bodies. Body shaming is a big deal, you know, so we're addressing all these things inside of that concept of embracing your feminine power and having the men support us.
Okay, great. So you just gave me 3 incredible questions there as a part of this conversation. One of the first things, so let's clarify, because in the beginning when you were talking, we spoke a lot about, you know, I would say more particularly geared to perhaps, you know, women, working women and so forth, but you just mentioned girls. So is this open to everybody, or do you have an age limit?
It's a women's event. So this event is actually open to people who are adult in terms of age group, and particularly because we're going to be addressing issues around menopause, issues around where women are having challenges with their body and embracing their femininity, and having conversations where we might actually have men talk about some of the issues that they don't know they can talk about or participate in. So, you know, for example, years ago, I'd done a seminar at an organization, and we decided to have it as an open conversation with the men and the women in the organization. And one of the men said, you know, that he had had a challenge talking to his daughter about her body development.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes we don't even think about how we can help a society or a community to change the conversation. So there's bravery involved.
Definitely, it is. That's so important. And those conversations are critical. I love the fact that you've also included men in this, because 9 out of 10 times when you see something that says cupcakes and cleavage, men may want to come, but they're not too sure whether or not they are going to be invited. So that's fantastic. Where is Cupcakes and Cleavage taking place?
It's going to be held at the Chocolate Bar in Santa Cruz.
Oh, nice.
And it's on Saturday, the 1st of July, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, and what about tickets? Is this an open event? Are there tickets for sale?
Tickets are for sale at $200, and they're available at Miss Profit. And we're in Maraval, and they can call, or we can actually send virtual tickets once they're purchased. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so we can look at maybe fathers and daughters coming together, families really coming together as well for this conversation.
Families can actually join us. Fathers, we'll have a few speakers, and those speakers will be sharing insightful details around social issues that are affecting communities. And we will then narrow it down to specific communities, women and girls.
Wonderful.
And so we're going to have exciting speakers. We're also going to have product displays and sampling.
Okay.
And of course, we're going to have cupcakes. And this year, our chef for the cupcakes is actually a man.
Oh, wonderful.
And he's an immigrant. So what we do as well is we look at an inclusive action that brings about hard conversations.
That is something that is so important. This is definitely an all-encompassing event, I have to say. And there's so much more than, you know, when you just see the headline, because a lot of people get very enticed. So you get grabbed, you see that, again, I'm saying it, cupcakes and cleavage. But then when you delve further into the conversation, one of the things that is a takeaway is this is something that is going to contribute to everybody on an individual level, but also the society at large. Because there are so many things that are missing from the conversations. As you mentioned, silos, something as simple as perhaps breastfeeding, what every woman goes through, but for some reason, every woman does not know the critical details of until they go through the experience themselves. So it's being able to have those hard conversations. And I dare say remove some of the stigma as well that may be attached to it.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about breastfeeding, and you know, some of the things that we don't talk about as well is that how that woman feels after she breastfeeds her child. She says, oh God, I feel ugly, I hate my breasts. We, as bra fitters over the last 23 years, one of the most commonplace things I hear almost every day, I hate my breasts.
Oh my goodness.
Yesterday I got a call, and the call was, I have a friend who's 61 years old and she doesn't know her bra size. Can you speak to her for me?
Wow.
So we have to start empowering women in such a way that we make the conversation wholesome, we make the conversation safe, and we make the conversation accessible.
That's so important.
Because we really have to fill the gaps, but more than that, we have to make people feel that it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay to have those hard conversations, or conversations that really shouldn't be hard, but because we haven't had them over the years, they can be quite a challenge. Nicole, before we go, do you have any closing comments or anything you would like to mention about Cupcakes and Cleavage?
We'd like folks to know that this event is going to be really something that lifts the ante. It actually is uplifting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awe-inspiring, and it's going to also be one of those spaces where, you know, once you walk out of the door after these hard conversations or exchanging these dialogues, you're going to feel more empowered to continue the conversation outdoors.
That's beautiful.
Out there in the public and in the open domain.
That's beautiful. A domino effect for society and effecting change. Nicole, thank you for being with us this morning. It has been a pleasure. Time just flew by. And I'm sure with the event as well, time is going to fly by, because when you are having a good time and making a change, time goes by very quickly.
It does. It does.
All right, Trinidad and Tobago. So you've seen what's happening on Saturday, the 1st of July. You need to be there to be a part of the change. And you also need to stay tuned, because coming up in a few moments, it's time for your birthdays. This is the Now Morning Show. Don't go anywhere.